بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا وعظيمنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وأصحابه الغر الميامين. الحمد لله الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية سيدي ومولاي علي بن أبي طالب. اللهم صل على محمد. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. أما بعد، يقول الله في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون. The first of our salawat in honor of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. The second in honor of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. The third with your loudest voices in honor of the Imam of our time, Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. Respected scholars, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. The discussion concerning Asbab al-Nuzul, or the reasons for revelation of a Quranic verse, is arguably one of the most fascinating discussions amongst the Quranic sciences. And without a doubt is a discussion that is very much underestimated and undervalued within our communities today. A discussion from which many fantastic lessons may be learnt and many important examples may be derived easily applicable into our lives today. How many times have you read a verse of the Quran and wondered on what occasion was that particular verse revealed? How many times have you looked at a verse in the Quran and wondered who the verse was addressing in Mecca at the time? How many times have you looked at a verse in the Quran and have asked yourself, who's the one who's asking the question to the Prophet, and what was the context of that verse? The discussion concerning Asbab al-Nuzul is a discussion that focuses on the reasons behind the revelation of a verse of the Holy Quran. Because there are many times when we read a verse of the Holy Quran where we don't ponder as to who the verse is discussing. And indeed, when you look at the wording of the verse, the wording indicates that something without a doubt had taken place. As in, if you were to look at many of the verses in the Holy Quran, without a doubt, there is an occasion for the revelation of that verse. But the problem is, many people, when they read the Quran without asking the question, for what reason was that verse revealed in the way it was revealed? And this brings about a disconnect between them and the Holy Quran. If today I gave you an Arabic book, and I said to you, please read the whole book, from the front to the back, from the back to the front, when you read it, every single verse you'll come across, you'll turn around to me and say, what was the reason this verse speaks in this way? Okay? You find, for example, if you were to take chapter 9, verse 49, وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ يَقُولُ أَذَنْ لِي وَلَا تَفْتِنِّي. And from them is the one who says, excuse me, don't trial me. If you were to ask many Muslims, when they've read this verse, did they ever ponder, who's the man who's saying, excuse me, don't trial me? Many Muslims will turn around to you and say, listen, all I've been told is try and read the Quran from the front to the back and you'll be rewarded. But the Quran then doesn't become a book of guidance. In the holy month of Ramadan, we say about the Quran that it's hudan lil nasi wa bayyinatin min al huda wal furqan. That it's a guidance from mankind which separates truth and falsehood. If I come across an ayah of the Quran, and that ayah of the Quran states that someone saying to the Prophet, I beg you, excuse me, don't trial me, the first thing I should really do is go back and look for the reason why this verse was revealed. Let me give you another example. If an ayah says, وَإِذَا سَرُّ النَّبِيُّ إِلَى بَعْضِ أَزْوَاجِ حَدِيثًا, the Prophet told one of his wives the secret. When I read this verse, I could easily just flow over the verse, or I could stop there and say, hold on a minute. The Prophet tells his wife a secret. What's the secret? And which wife? And why the need to be secretive? The point about the science of Asbab al-Nuzul is what? The science of Asbab al-Nuzul is that you return and ask the question that why is every verse in the Quran revealed and for what context? We know the Quran is not a book in chronological order. If the Quran was a book in chronological order, the first surah should be Surah Alaq, correct? But what's the first surah in the Quran? Al-Fatiha. What's the second surah? Al-Baqarah. The second surah should be Qalam. The third surah should be Muzammil. The fourth should be Muddathir. The fifth should be Fatiha. When the Quran is not a book in chronological order, then I have to be the one who ponders about the verses. Why? If the Quran was in chronological order, then I'll know the first surahs are all Mecca and the second are all Medina, because Rasulullah lived at the beginning in Mecca, then he went to Medina. But we know Surah Al-Fatiha is Meccan, Baqarah is Medinian, Al-Imran is Medinian, Nisa is Medinian, Ma'idah is Medinian. When I'm now seeing that the Quran itself isn't chronological, I therefore have to look at these verses so that I'm able to understand the flow and the development of the Quran in a stage-by-stage manner. Therefore, this science of Asbab al-Nuzul is a science very much underestimated in our communities. Many times people come to me in our communities and they say that, you know, I read this lovely verse in the Quran. Why was this verse revealed? That question is the most important question in any study of the Quran. And the problem is many of the followers of Al-Muhammad never asked that question. Why? Because many of us have been taught, read the Quran like a parrot, haven't we? Just read. Every Thursday, read Yasin. Why I'm reading, what I'm reading about, I'm not sure. But I've just been told to read. The science of Asbab al-Nuzul, the science of the causes of revelation, is when I have the Quran on one side of the table, and I have this book with the science of the causes of revelation on the other. I look at the Quran, I see an interesting verse. Inna Safa wal Marwata min sha'air Allah. Safa and Marwa from the signs of Allah. What do? I know the Quran is not explaining with a tafsir by the side. So I go to the book of Asbab al-Nuzul and I look for the meaning of why this verse was revealed. In my opinion, the best works which were written in the last 30, 40 years on Asbab al-Nuzul have been written by Western academics. If you come to the school of Ahlul Bayt today, I ask anyone to show me a work where every ayah of the Quran has the story of its revelation next to it. If I were to ask you in Urdu or in Persian or in Arabic to show me a book where you pick any ayah of the Quran and next to it the story of the revelation, I guarantee you there's not much at all. Andrew Rippin, in his seminal article from SOAS, has one of the best analysis of the history and development of Asbab al-Nuzul. I recommend all of you tonight, when you get back, if you want to study this topic further, for as you know, this topic is part of my topic which I began in Africa in night 1 of Shahr Ramadan. You find that Andrew Rippin has written a fantastic article. How did the science of the reasons of revelation come about? How do you find information about the reasons of revelation? But it's a shame that in our school, you look around, you find that a school that was built on the pen of Ja'far bin Muhammad is a school that has no more pens at the moment. Therefore tonight, let's examine the history of Asbab al-Nuzul and seek to understand this beautiful area which builds a completely new transformation with the Quran. Number one, why do I need to study the science of the reason of revelation? And what are the three main reasons given? Number two, what's the difference between Sha'n al-Nuzul and Sabab al-Nuzul? And how does it relate to understanding the Quran? Number three, how important are Wahidi and Suyuti when it comes to the area of Asbab al-Nuzul? Number four, can a person's theology affect which narration they put next to an ayah of the Quran? And how have the likes of Abu Talib been affected because of people's theology in this area? Number five, which verses were revealed about Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen according to Ahlul Sunnah wa Tashayyu' within the science of the revelation, and how did each of these verses show his position, and which verse did Muawiyah change the reason of revelation for, so that it praised Ibn Muljam and his act on the night of the 19th. Let's examine this and seek to dissect the topic in complete depth. Someone asked the question that what's the need for me to study Asbab al-Nuzul? The first reason you need to study Asbab al-Nuzul is a vague Quran becomes a living Quran. What do I mean? How many times have you looked across the Quran and thought to yourself, this isn't too interesting to tell you the truth? There are many Muslims who, even though they will not admit it, deep down inside, when they're reading the Quran, will say, this really doesn't tickle my fancy. As in, I'm reading it and I know my parents have told me that this is meant to be the holiest book, and we put it at home so anyone religious who comes home thinks that we read it. But when we really look at the Quran, there isn't really much of interest. Why? Naturally, if you're going to read any book where you don't know why a verse is speaking in the way it speaks, then without a doubt, not knowing the context doesn't make the book interesting. Rashid Rada used to say, the Quranic verses are transformative. They should reverberate with your soul. If they don't, there's a problem between you and the Quran. There are many who, when they read the Quran, they feel that, you know what, I wish this was written in another language, because I'm not understanding what this is saying. It doesn't relate to me at all. Hence, you find in the car, most people prefer to play music than Quran. Why? Because the musicians' lyrics, they know why they're saying it in that way. What's the reason? What's the context? Whereas when it comes to the Quran, you're thinking this is a 1,400-year-old book. The first reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted us to search for Asbab al-Nuzul is that the Quran becomes alive in our life. Let me give you an example. Let me give you a very vague verse in the Quran. If I was reading Surah Al-Baqarah tomorrow morning, yes? Sunday morning, I'm reading Surah Al-Baqarah. I thought it's the holy month of Ramadan. Let me try and read the verses. I come to Surah 2, verse 115, verse 115 of Surah Al-Baqarah. وَلِلَّهِ الْمَشْرَقِ وَالْمَغْرِبِ فَأَيْنَمَا تُوَلُّوا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ. Yes? To Allah belongs the east, yes, and the west. Whichever way you turn, you see His countenance. When I read this verse on a Sunday morning, I'm already tired from Saturday night. I'm reading this verse and I'm like, okay, cool. And I continue reading. If I stop for a moment, instead of reading 1,000 verses, stop to ponder on one. I go to Asbab al-Nuzul. I read the Sabab al-Nuzul of this verse. Is fascinating. That what happened was when the Qibla was changed from Bayt al-Maqdis towards the Kaaba. When the Qibla was changed, what happened? As soon as the Qibla was changed, the Jews of Medina mocked the Muslims. Why? The Jews of Medina looked towards the Muslims. They said, you Muslims, your past prayers are void and your future prayers are void. When the Muslims turned around and they said, why? The Jews replied by saying that your past prayers faced Bayt al-Maqdis, and now that you've changed to the Kaaba, your past prayers have gone and this Kaaba will be of no avail to you at all. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replied with an ayah that as soon as you people attack our Muslims by saying that you can't change the Qibla from Bayt al-Maqdis to the Kaaba, I'll reply to you by saying wherever you turn, be it the east or the west, you'll always find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Correct? Why? Because to the east of Medina is the Kaaba. To the west of Medina is Bayt al-Maqdis. Correct or no? If you look at Medina on a map, to the east of Medina, what is it? It's the Kaaba. And to the left or to the west of Medina, it's Bayt al-Maqdis. وَلِلَّهِ الْمَشْرِقِ وَالْمَغْرِبِ فَأَيْنَمَا تَوَلُّوا. What happens? فَأَيْنَمَا تَوَلُّوا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ. Wherever you turn, you'll see the face of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning what? The face of His glory. You'll see His sustenance. That ayah, if I just read it on a Sunday morning, just read across it without pondering, that ayah doesn't really seem like anything important. The moment I go to the sabab, sabab means what? Reason, cause. I think it's the same in other languages as well. When I go to the sabab, straight away I find the sabab. Let me give you another example. Surah 2, verse 158. I've continued on a Sunday morning, I'm reading Surah Al-Baqarah. I've come to Surah 2, verse 158, and I read the verse. إِنَّ الصَّفَا وَالْمَرْوَةَ مِنْ شَعَائِرِ اللَّهِ. Yes? فَمَنْ حَجَّ الْبَيْتَ. Yes? are the ones who come and perform the Hajj, or the ones who perform Umrah. Yes, there is no harm on them going towards the Safa and Marwa, and no blame will be attached on them. When it said that there will be no blame attached to them if they perform Safa and Marwa, someone looks at this ayah and thinks to himself, hold on a minute. There's no blame attached to them if they go Safa and Marwa. I thought Safa and Marwa is wajib when I go. Listen, if I go to Umrah or I go to Hajj, isn't Safa and Marwa wajib? Why does the Quran say, but there is no blame attached to them if they went? Look at this ayah. It seems boring. It seems like there's nothing of value to it. That Safa and Marwa are the signs of Allah. Whoever does Hajj or Umrah, there's no blame on them if they go to Safa and Marwa. When you look at Sabab al-Nuzul, what do you find? You find that this verse relates to what? This verse relates to the fact that after the Hudaybiyah treaty, in the treaty, the Holy Prophet had said, allow us to come back and do Umrah the following year. When the Muslims came back to do Umrah, the Quraysh said, listen, you know what we'll do? The idols on the Kaaba and the idols on Safa and Marwa, we'll remove those idols. Yes? And you guys can do Umrah for a few days, but when you finish, we put the idols back. The Muslims done their Umrah, but when they got to Safa and Marwa, the idols were still where? They were still on the mountain. Some of the Muslims thought to themselves, well, maybe that means that we can't do Safa and Marwa because there are idols on the mountain. So the Quran said, listen, Safa and Marwa are from the signs of Allah, yes? Whoever does Hajj or Umrah, don't worry, there's no blame on them if they go to them. The ayah therefore becomes alive. That's when I look at this ayah, all of a sudden the Quran isn't just a vague book of Arabic where I have oscillating tongue movements. Suddenly, Mecca becomes part of my life. Suddenly, Medina becomes part of my life. Many of the great Quranic scholars, what do they always used to say? Imagine the Quran was left with you today. Rasulullah died yesterday. How would you relate to that book? I don't want someone to come and tell me this is a 1,400-year-old book. I want this book to be alive. Therefore, the first reason that a person studies Sabab al-Nuzul is so that the Quranic verses don't just sound like Arabic literature, but they become alive. Let me give you another ayah. وَلَا تُكْرِهُ فَتَيَاتِكُمْ عَلَى الْبِغَاءِ إِنْ أَرَدْنَا تَحَصُّنًا. Do not compel your daughters into acts of indecency. I read this ayah, I'm like, what does it mean, do not compel your daughters into acts of indecency? When I look for Sabab al-Nuzul, what do I find? In Arabia, they used to have brothels, yes? Prostitution was high. Abdullah bin Ubay used to have many girls in one building. There'd be a red flag outside the building. Anyone who wants can come and enter and pay and leave. You found that the Quran, when I come across this ayah, if I just read the Arabic, then it sounds boring. وَلَا تُكْرِهُ فَتَيَاتِكُمْ عَلَى الْبِغَاءِ. I'm too concerned with the makhraj. And the problem in the school of Ahl al-Bayt is there's too many concerned with their makhraj and not concerned with pondering. Yes? You found that the ayah said what? Don't force your daughters into acts of indecency. It was speaking to the brothel owners at the time, that you force these innocent girls into the brothels. Why are you doing this? Let these girls have a life. You know how some people say the Quran's a book which is 1,400 years old, it doesn't relate to today? Subhanallah, how that ayah relates to today in the world, doesn't it? How many of these places do you see in the world today? Whereas the Quran had already discussed this. In other words, the first reason we look at this is what? The first reason is so that I am able to see the reasons behind the revelation of an ayah. The second reason is so that if my non-Muslim friend looks at an ayah in the Quran and they look at it and say, excuse me, what was that ayah revealed about? If I don't know, then I'm in major trouble when it comes to my ego. Yes? Because all of us, when we walk around, we all think that all of us know the Quran and all of us know Ahl al-Bayt. If a non-Muslim comes to me and says to me, you know, I was reading the Quran and you said to me it's a book of peace. So we reply, yes, it's a book of peace. Chapter 9, verse 5. I say, what do you mean? So read chapter 9, verse 5. When you read chapter 9, verse 5, it says, when the holy months have passed, kill the disbelievers wherever you see them. Wow, what a book of peace, mashallah. Yes? What a great book of peace the Quran is. Because you find many of the Muslims who say the Quran is a book of peace haven't even read the Quran. Yes? Many of them will say, oh, but Islam means peace, Quran means peace, and everyone's in peace. La habibi, peace doesn't mean we're going to build a just society. If we're all peaceful with each other, As Voltaire used to say, diplomacy is when two people lie to each other. Yes, there are times when a person has to be clear. You find that if someone brings an ayah of the Quran, an ayah of the Quran says, when the holy months have passed, kill the disbelievers wherever you see them. My neighbor in London comes to me, says, excuse me, Ammar. I'm like, yes. Says, you know your Quran is peaceful? I'm like, yes, mashallah, it's very peaceful. He's like, well, Surah 9 verse 5 doesn't sound too peaceful. فَإِذَا انْسَلَخَ الْأَشْهُرُ الْحُرُمُ فَاقْتُلُوا الْمُشْرِكِينَ حَيْثُ وَجَدتُّمُوهُمْ وَخُذُوهُم. That doesn't sound, that sounds like someone who wants to kill everyone. The second reason I search for the reasons of revelation is so that just in case someone tries to gazump me with an ayah of the Quran, I can turn around and say, no, hold on. If now America signed a treaty with another country, yes, and that country mercilessly went and massacred American soldiers, having signed the treaty, shouldn't America take forceful vengeance against these people? The person will say yes. Likewise, this ayah was revealed about Hudaybiyah. There was a treaty that the Quraysh and the Muslims will look after each other. But what happened? The Quraysh went behind the back of the Muslims and they massacred a group of the Muslims in Mecca. Therefore, when I have knowledge of the reason of a revelation of an ayah, I don't look at a non-Muslim and say, you know what, I'll get back to you, I'll go to Maulana, I'll come to Maulana, and I'll go to another Maulana. No! Each of you is his own Maulana when it comes to the Quran. Each of you should be able to look at the reasons of the revelation within the Quran. On the third level, the beauty of studying the reason of revelation is what? I can then look at what issues face the Muslim community then and how they face us today. Correct or no? Because sometimes, there are certain Muslims, they'll turn around and say to you, we have it so hard. It's so difficult being religious here. And it's so difficult for us to be of those people who can hold on to our faith. And also, you know what? We can't unite with our brothers in Islam. We are Shia. We shall remain Shia. We have no unity. No, we look back at the Quran. If I read a verse like Surah 3, verse 103, it says, hold on to the rope of Allah and do not disunite. How many of you have read this ayah, correct? Hold on to the rope of Allah and do not disunite. Do you know, interestingly, who caused the disunity between these Muslims? Why this ayah was revealed? The Jews caused disunity between the Muslims in those early days in Islam. Yes? If I hadn't read the reason of this revelation, then it sounds like a normal verse. Hold on to the rope of Allah and don't disunite. But when I realized in Medina, the Jews started to make the Aus and the Khazraj fight each other. Yes? And the Aus started claiming they had great companions. And the Khazraj claimed they had great companions. Suddenly there was disunity within the Ummah. Rasulullah said, don't let others come and divide and conquer. Correct? Don't let people come from outside and say, you are this Muslim or you are that Muslim. All of you are under the banner of La ilaha illallah. Each and every one of you is under this banner. Therefore, these reasons were normally given. The question arises, what's the difference between sabab al-nuzul and sha'n al-nuzul? Because sometimes you'll have certain people who say that this is the sha'n al-nuzul. And some will say this is the sabab al-nuzul. Sha'n al-nuzul is known as the occasion of the revelation. Sabab al-nuzul is known as the reason of the revelation. Someone says, is there much difference? Yes, there is. Sha'n al-nuzul normally relates to what? It normally relates to an occasion that has come before Islam, but is mentioned in the Quran. What do I mean? If someone tells you, what's the sha'n al-nuzul of Surah Al-Fil? Yes? أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ فَعَلَ رَبُّكَ بِأَصْحَابِ الْفِيلِ. Ashab al-Fil, the incident of Abraha with Ashab al-Fil, did it take place in the time of Islam or before? Before. So Sha'n al-Nuzul will talk about Musa's story, talk about Isa's story, the reason of the revelation of Nuh's story. That's what Sha'n al-Nuzul is concerned with. Sabab al-Nuzul, however, is concerned with the events that took place in the life of the Prophet. Which events took place in Mecca? Which ones took place in Medina? How they came about. And the top writers on this, many of them came from Ahlul Sunnah. In which way? If you look at Ahlul Sunnah, they have a number of the most famous scholars who wrote on this area. The first to write a book on this area, although the book is now extinct, was Al-Madani, the Shaykh of Bukhari. He had written a book by the name of Kitab al-Tanzil. But that book is not there. Of the book that exists, of the oldest book in this area, where what you do is you could literally buy it from Amazon tonight. You buy it from Amazon, you open a surah of the Quran, you open a verse, and you look at the story behind the verse, yes? The oldest is Wahidi's famous work, Asbab al-Nuzul. That's available until today. That's a work from the 5th century. So that work is quite an old work from over 1,000 years back. But that's what does it do? You open Surah Al-Baqarah, and subhanAllah, the beauty of the internet today means what? You can literally go on a website like altafsir.com. It's one of the best websites I have ever seen on the internet. And whoever has done this website, I have to give them credit. Why? You know how they've done this website? Surah, and you scroll down, so Surah 1 for example, or Surah, let's say you say Surah 7, then you go to what? Tafsir. You know what comes down? Tafsir of Ahl Sunnah, Tafsir of Shia, Tafsir of Sufis, Tafsir of the Salafis, yes, each one of them. Then you go to the ayah, you press show, and straight away it tells you why this verse was revealed. It's a beautiful system. Altafsir.com, amongst the people it uses, Wahidi's Asbab al-Nuzul. After Wahidi, one of the best works on this area is who? Is the work by the renowned scholar Jalal al-Din al-Suyuti. Yes? Lubab al-Nuqul fi Asbab al-Nuzul. It's a fantastic work. Suyuti, many of his works are objective studies of repute. Be it the Itqan, be it Dur al-Manthur, be it Tarikh al-Khulafa, be it Tafsir al-Jalalain. A lot of his works are works of respect. This book, Lubab al-Nuqul, في أسباب النزول. You look at a surah of the Quran, you don't just stop and look at it. Yasin, yes? Many have read Yasin. وَإِذْ أَرْسَلْنَا إِلَيْهِمْ اثْنَيْنِ فَكَذَّبُوهُمَا فَعَزَّزْنَا. Yes? What happened? We send them two, they belied them, they send them third. You type Surah Yasin, Surah 36. You scroll down to the ayah and it shows you. This refers to the Prophet Jesus. He sent his disciples to the land of Antioch and that's what came about. In other words, what you have is that you have that the best of the works were Wahidis and Suyutis. And I really believe there's a growing need in the school of Ahl al-Bayt for a work on this area, without a doubt. In the school of Ahl al-Bayt. But the question arises that these scholars like Wahidi, like Suyuti, like Fakhr al-Razi, like Ibn Kathir, when they wrote the tafsir and next to it they wrote the Sabab al-Nuzul, did they allow their theological opinions to affect the Sabab al-Nuzul or no? Please focus on this point. If I see an ayah in the Quran and it says قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. What if I don't like Muhammad, Ali, Hassan, Hussein and Fatima, correct? What if I have an issue? Am I going to say that that ayah is revealed about them or no? You see, this is where the test came in Sabab al-Nuzul. Why? Some scholars said that the science of Asbab al-Nuzul cannot be 100% accurate. Why? Because the writer is obviously going to use his lens when he's writing. The writer, when he uses his lens, what's he going to do? He's going to use his lens to make sure that his school's opinion goes in there. You find Ibn Kathir, for example, on this ayah, Ayat al-Mawaddah, correct? He says, no, it's not Muhammad, Ali, Fatima, Hassan and Hussein. When Rasulullah was asked, is there anything that we can pay you for you during this service? Is there any reward you want? Rasulullah, we all know, said, قُلْ, Allah tells him, لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ بِالْقُرْبَى. I don't ask from you nothing except love for my family. You found that Ibn Kathir says, no, we don't accept this. He said, why? He said, because this has the person who narrates this has Shia narrators. So of course they're going to be biased. So this verse is revealed about someone else entirely. Habibi, even within your own school, they say this was revealed about Ali, Fatima, Hassan, Hussein. That Rasulullah said, all I ask from you is love these, look after them, honor them. You found Ibn Kathir will not allow that. Even I'll give you another example. Surah 9 verse 113. وَمَا كَانَ لِلنَّبِيِّ يَسْتَغْفِرُ لِلْمُشْرِكِينَ وَلَوْ كَانُوا أُولِي الْقُرْبَى. It is not fitting for the Prophet to do istighfar for the polytheists, even if they're his relatives. Yes? Surah 9 verse what? 113. When you go to the Sabab al-Nuzul of this particular ayah, you open the Sabab al-Nuzul. As soon as you open it, you know what some came forward and said? This ayah was revealed about Abu Talib. I say, what do you mean? Say, yes, the ayah is clear that Rasulullah was told by Allah, it's not fitting for you to do istighfar for the mushrik, even if the mushrik is your relative. You found some of these scholars, what did they do? They said, yes, this was about Abu Talib. Abu Talib was Rasulullah's mushrik uncle, And so Allah told Rasulullah, do not pray for him on his deathbed, because Abu Talib is a mushrik. Firstly, what's the problem with such a sabab? The first problem is this surah, Surah At-Tawbah, was revealed 12 years after Abu Talib died. Therefore, it can't be a sabab al-nuzul, correct or no? If anything, they want to go into Sha'n al-Nuzul, no problem. But as for Sabab al-Nuzul, no. Sabab al-Nuzul, firstly, Abu Talib. Secondly, Abu Talib, we know there are more than enough instances of his iman with the Holy Prophet. Let alone the fact that he recited the nikah of the Prophet. Let alone, for example, that his wife Fatima bint Asad was a Muslim and would have had to have divorced him if, for example, he was a kafir. Other examples. You found, therefore, that the area of Sabab al-Nuzul, was it 100% accurate? As in, can I go anywhere and simply look at any book of Sabab al-Nuzul and find the answer? No. Without a doubt, there are some whose theological opinions affected the way an ayah was revealed. Therefore, what do? Do we just take any ayah? No. What we say is, we look at a book of Sabab al-Nuzul, of Ahlul Sunnah, of the Shia. We look at the books of Tafsir. If both of them agree that an ayah was revealed about a particular personality, then we all put our hands together and say that, look, this is not biased, this is an objective analysis. If the Ahlul Sunnah has said this was revealed about X, and we say it was revealed about X, then we take it. And that's why you find in the books of Ahlul Sunnah, the number of verses they say were revealed about Amir al-Mu'mineen is something quite phenomenal, without a doubt. Don't think Ahlul Sunnah don't have ayat which they've said have been revealed about Amir al-Mu'mineen. Do you know how many ayat in the Quran, even within Asbab al-Nuzul of Wahidi, or within Suyuti, they say that ayah came down specifically about Ali ibn Abi Talib? A number of ayahs. Let's look at a few of them. Of the ayahs in the Quran where they say clearly were revealed about Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, and all these ayahs, I hope that you can jot them down, sincerely. Because one good thing about Shia, they love coming to majalis and not writing anything. It's a phenomenal attribute we have. The mimbar used to be a mimbar of knowledge. I don't know, was there a period where the knowledge went? I'm not sure, because it seems like sometimes people came to a level on the mimbar where it was just like, listen, let them just finish the 45 and let's go home. This mimbar was meant to be a center of knowledge where the students under the mimbar wouldn't stop writing, correct or no? You find that the first ayah that they quote was revealed about Ali ibn Abi Talib, Surah 32 verse 18, the ayah which I quoted at the beginning of my lecture. How many of you have heard أَفَمَنْ كَانَ مُؤْمِنًا كَمَنْ كَانَ فَاسِقًا لَا? Where have you heard this? Dua Kumail. You know, there are many people who, if you told them, where have you heard this? They'll say, Dua Kumail. If you ask them, did you know it was in the Quran? Many will say, you're joking. That ayah is in the Quran. I remember when I gave my majlis on Amma Yujibul Muttar. Many people came to me and said, we didn't know it was an ayah of the Quran. We thought it's just the dua you recite at the end of a majlis. أَفَمَنْ كَانَ مُؤْمِنًا كَمَنْ كَانَ فَاسِقًا لَا يَسْتَوُونَ. Is it right that the one who's a believer and the one who's an open sinner, yes, can you put them all together equal? No way. Ahlul Sunnah and Tashayyu' both say this surah was revealed about whom? This verse. Surah 32 verse 18 was revealed that the mu'min was Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen and the fasiq was Walid ibn Uqbah. Yes, that Rasulullah had said, if you want to see the height of Iman, look at Ali ibn Abi Talib. And if you want to see the height of fisq, look at Walid ibn Uqbah. Truly, because Walid ibn Uqbah is the one who the Quran revealed the verse, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِنْ جَاءَكُمْ فَاسِقٌ بِنَبَأٍ فَتَبَيَّنُوا أَن تُصِيبُوا قَوْمًا بِجَهَالَةٍ فَتُصْبِحُوا عَلَى مَا فَعَلْتُمْ نَادِمِينَ. You find that therefore this ayah was revealed. About whom? That Rasulullah said the whole of Iman. And without a doubt, on the day of Khandaq, didn't Rasulullah say, the whole of Iman is entrenched in Ali ibn Abi Talib? No doubt. The Quran said what? أَفَمَنْ كَانَ مُؤْمِنًا كَمَنْ كَانَ فَاسِقًا لَا يَسْتَوُونَ. You can't put the mu'min and the fasiq all in the same bracket. Subhanallah, Ya Rasulullah. 23 years after you pass away, Ali ibn Abi Talib and Walid ibn Uqbah, do you know where they were? Ali ibn Abi Talib has no position in the Islamic State. Walid ibn Uqbah becomes governor of Kufa. That's our history, my dear brothers. What a lovely history we have in Islam, yes? The Quran said, أَفَمَنْ كَانَ مُؤْمِنًا كَمَنْ كَانَ فَاسِقًا, yes? 23 years after Rasulullah died, Uthman in his caliphate, Walid bin Uqbah is Uthman's brother-in-law. He made him governor of Kufa. Ali ibn Abi Talib for 25 years has got no position in Islam. Whereas these people put this man as governor, and this man is the famous man who led Salat al-Fajr drunk, yes? The man who led Salat al-Fajr drunk, where he prayed Fajr 4 rak'ah instead of 2. Therefore you found that this ayah was revealed about Ali ibn Abi Talib. Another ayah, Surah 13, verse 7. إِنَّمَا أَنْتَ مُنذِرٌ. Yes? وَلِكُلِّ قَوْمٍ هَادٍ. You are a warner, O Muhammad. And for every nation there's a guide. When Rasulullah was asked, Ya Rasulullah, what does it mean that you're a warner? And for every nation there's a guide? He replied by saying, I am a warner to the people, and Ali is the guide for this nation. Without a doubt, Rasulullah is the one who warned the people. He is the one who warned the people about this. He is the one who told the people about the religion of Islam. And Ali ibn Abi Talib was the guide. That's the second ayah. A third ayah, both agree, was revealed about Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا ناجيتم الرسول فقدموا بين يدي نجواكم صدقة. O you who believe, if you come to ask questions from the Prophet, pay a sadaqah before you ask questions. Yes? Why? Because Rasulullah, of course, no doubt, the Holy Prophet, some people used to come waste time with him. Yes? Some would say, oh Prophet of God, can I ask you, where's my mom? So he'll say, what do you mean? He said, you know, my mom's died. Where is she now? So he'll say, well, I don't know. Allah will decide. Okay, where's my dad? So he's like, I don't know. You tell me, where's your dad? He's like, he's passed away. He's like, okay. So he's like, where is he? Heaven or hell? He said, only Allah knows. Another one would come to him and say, where's the day of judgment? So Rasulullah would turn around and say, well, only Allah knows. And some of them wouldn't leave. No, because when knowledge is for free, you don't leave the person. You don't leave the person. If it's for free, everyone starts jumping. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the heavens said, you want to come and seek knowledge from this man, pay him. Pay him. Sorry, who's charging? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying you have to come and pay. Hold on a minute, Ya Allah. Hold on, knowledge is for free, Ya Allah. No. You want to come and visit him. You appreciate knowledge, yes? You appreciate each of you's got to pay. No, but this is Rasulullah. He's giving ilm. And the person who gives ilm shouldn't charge. No. Pay. None of them paid except one man. Let's have another one. Let's have another Nara Haidari. Another. We're honored. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. We're honored on a night like this that we are the servants of Ali ibn Abi Talib, correct? We're honored because it's only our Imam when this verse was revealed. He himself said, it's the best dirhams I've ever spent. Yes? That when Allah ordered, you want to come and visit this man, the Prophet, what, you think you can come and visit him for free? You think this man done all this sacrifice for knowledge so that you come for free? No way! I'll charge you! Pay! You want to learn about Islam? Pay! Ya Allah, how could you? How dare I say to the Lord, how could you? He knew these, when you give them for free, all of them jump. When you make them pay, all of them run. It's character in the human being. Only one man. أشفقتم أن تقدموا بين يديكم بين نجواكم. Yes. Have you thought twice? أن تقدموا بين يدي نجواكم صدقات. You're thinking twice about paying? Yes. Don't worry, I forgive all of you. Abrogate the verse, leave it. But only one man acted by this verse. Ahlul Sunnah and Shia both agree. Only one man. He'd come and he's the one who would pay to the Holy Prophet. Therefore 32:18, 13:7, you have this verse, Surah 58 verse 12. You have the verse on the day of Mubahala. فَمَنْ حَاجَكَ فِيهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَكَ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ فَقُلْ تَعَالَوْا نَدْعُوا أَبْنَاءَنَا وَأَبْنَاءَكُمْ وَنِسَاءَنَا وَنِسَاءَكُمْ وَأَنفُسَنَا وَأَنفُسَكُمْ ثُمَّ نَبْتَهِلْ فَنَجْعَلْ لَعْنَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَى الْكَاذِبِينَ. That when Rasulullah had to go and meet the Christians a year before he dies, Allah tells him, take the best of the best of the best of the best of your religion, correct? So as his woman, there are many women alive, correct? Many women are alive. He only takes Fatima to Zahra. Because if you put all those women, they wouldn't be the dust of Fatima. None of them. And that there are many sons alive. But he took Hassan and Hussein as his sons, yes? And there are many who called themselves the nafs of Muhammad, but only one who Allah titled the nafs of Muhammad. Yes? Because when you're about to take a person to meet the Christians, when you say that he is your nafs, what are you saying? You're saying, this man is my equal. This man, his light and my light are the same. You want to see me? Look in the character of this man and you'll see me. Therefore you find Suyuti says, the nafs of Rasulullah in that verse, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. In the verse about Tathir, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمْ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ. Who was it revealed about? Muhammad, Ali, Fatima, Hassan, Hussein. The verse, for example, about giving the ring away in ruku', correct? Scholars of the Sunnah and the Shia agree that one man gave his ring away when in ruku' Allah inspired him in ilham. Like he inspired the mother of Musa. Didn't Allah say in the Quran that we revealed to the mother of Musa to suckle him? Likewise, Allah revealed to Ali ibn Abi Talib to give away his ring in ruku'. Ayah after ayah after ayah after ayah were revealed about Amir al-Mu'mineen. If Allah says, إِنَّمَا أَنْتَ مُنذِرٌ وَلِكُلِّ قَوْمٍ هَادٍ, Ali ibn Abi Talib. أَفَمَنْ كَانَ مُؤْمِنًا كَمَنْ كَانَ فَاسِقًا, Ali ibn Abi Talib. إِنَّمَا وَلِيُّكُمُ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, Ali ibn Abi Talib. فَمَنْ حَاجَكَ فِيهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَكَ, Ali ibn Abi Talib. إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ, Ali ibn Abi Talib. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِذَا نَاجَيْتُمُ الرَّسُولَ فَقَدِّمُوا بَيْنَ يَدَيْ نَجْوَاكُمْ صَدَقَةً, Ali ibn Abi Talib. So many ayat were revealed in the books of Ahl Sunnah and the Shia in praise of Amir al-Mu'mineen. However, what began to happen? After Rasulullah died, those who were in power knew that these verses relating to Ali have to change. And Muawiyah pulled off a coup with one ayah where he took it away from Ali ibn Abi Talib. How? Ayah 207 of Surah 2 says what? وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْرِ نَفْسَهُ ابْتِغَاءَ مَرْضَاتِ اللَّهِ. There are those who sell their souls for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, correct? You see, there are them who sell their soul to the devil. There are those who sell their soul to their families. There are those who sell their souls to their companies. One particular high level is when you sell your soul for the pleasure of Allah, isn't it? It's the highest level possible. You found that Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib on the night of Hijrah, he sold his soul to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How? When Rasulullah came to him and he said to him, "Oh Ali, would you sleep in my bed tonight?" Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen replied to him, "It is as long as it keeps you in peace, Ya Rasulullah." Are you in peace? Are you secure? He replied to him, "Yes, I'll be in peace and I'll be insecure." So then he looked at him, and I'll be in security. So then he looked at him and he said that my soul is sacrificed for your soul and my life is sacrificed for your life. He slept on that bed on that night. What does the poet say about that blanket on the bed? He says the blanket was yaqeen and the bed mattress was tawakkul, and Ali ibn Abi Talib was in the middle of both of them. Correct? That blanket was yaqeen and the mattress was tawakkul, and Ali ibn Abi Talib was infused in both of them. That Jibreel and Mikael speak in the heavens and Allah asks them, which one of you is willing to sacrifice their life for me? And all the angels say, Ya Allah, we don't mind, but we prefer to live. He said, go down and protect the son of Abu Talib. For there's a young man at that young age. How old was he at the time? He was not older at the time than what, 22? Around that age. Yet you saw him ready to sacrifice his life for his prophet on that night. You know what Muawiyah did? Muawiyah came to Samara bin Jundub. Samara bin Jundub, Bukhari takes him as a chief narrator, yes? Samara bin Jundub is a pious human being. Bukhari takes him, they take him as a pious narrator. Muawiyah came to Samara bin Jundub. He said, Samara? He said, yes. He said, you know ayah 207 of Surah 2? What's the sabab and nuzul of this ayah? He said, it's Ali ibn Abi Talib. I said, what do you mean? He said, everybody knows that this verse was revealed in his honor, that the night he slept in the bed of Rasulullah, Allah sent down the ayah in the Quran, there are those who sell their soul for the pleasure of Allah. He says, is there any way we can change the reason of revelation? I tell you, if Amir al-Mu'mineen's name was in the Quran, they would have changed the Quran as well. If not, burn it. So instead of changing the Quran, why not change the tafsir, correct? He looked at him, he says, is there any way we can change the reason of revelation? You think it's something small when you change the reason of revelation? You're changing the minds of generations to come on this ayah. That instead of generations looking and saying, this is Ali ibn Abi Talib, people will look and say, who? He said to him, how much will you pay me if I change the reason of the revelation? He said to him, I'll give you 100,000 dinars. I said, what? 100,000 for changing the tafsir of an ayah of the Quran from its sabab al-nuzul? He said 200,000. He said, not a chance. 300,000. Not a chance. 400,000. Yes? That's like you today asking someone to change something in the council, yes? And you'll say, I'll give you $400,000 if you change this document. Who would do that? Unless you have a vicious hatred towards the man. Yes? Samara bin Jundub turned around, and remember, Samara hated Ali ibn Abi Talib as well. Both of these were anti him because of how he was when he was younger in the battlefield. They used to hate him. So he said to him, who do you want me to put in praise of? He said, can you make the ayah as a prophecy? He said, prophecy for who? He said, for Abdurrahman ibn Muljam. He said, you want me to change this as a prophecy? What did he mean? He meant that the ayah was speaking about someone in the future. That Rasulullah said, in the future you'll meet a man who sold his soul for the pleasure of Allah. His name is Abdurrahman ibn Muljam. Samara bin Jundub came to the ayah. He changed the ayah completely in its sabab al-nuzul. It spread in Sham for over 60 years. That Ali ibn Abi Talib, the night he was struck by a man who sold his soul for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine. That's the injustice that was done against this man. And I tell you, until today, the injustice is leveled against this man. That there are so many ayahs of the Quran, people don't ponder were revealed about this man and his great exploits. How could one say Abdurrahman bin Muljam sold his soul for Allah when he killed the very sign of Allah on the earth on a night like this? On a night like this, you think of all those people who surround the grave in Najaf of your master Amir al-Mu'mineen. Every lover of Ali ibn Abi Talib, those of you who've been to his grave in Najaf, then you'll remember the sight of that wonderful grave. That grave which Prophet Adam is on one side and Prophet Nuh is on the other. That grave, may Allah bless all of you that one day you're able to perform the ziyarah of Najaf. Ya Allah, for those in this hall who haven't performed the ziyarah, please let them perform the ziyarah. But those of you who have seen that grave, I expect you to be with me tonight, yes? Because all of you have been also to Masjid al-Kufa. All of you have seen that area where he laid for the final time. And the condolences go towards the Imam of our time, Imam Sahib al-Zaman. May Allah give him patience in what we're about to narrate. Because on a night like this, on the 19th of Ramadan, he had his final meal with his daughters. He then left the house. They noticed there was something different. It's as if he was telling them as well that these are my final moments in this world. It's as if one poet says it beautifully. It's as if he wanted to return to Fatima al-Zahra again, to see Fatima one time after he hadn't seen her for many years. He left the house. He noticed that even the animals outside the house were even making sounds. When he entered the mosque, he saw a man sleeping on his stomach, yes? He came to him. Who was it? It was Abdurrahman ibn Muljam. When he came towards him, he said, you shouldn't sleep this sleep. This is the sleep of shaitan. But that was the man who shaitan had overtaken. And the Imam went towards praying that final prayer, yes? May Allah give you all patience. He began with that final prayer. He moved into his ruku'. He moved into his sujood. From the back came Abdurrahman ibn Muljam towards the front. And he struck Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib on the top of his head. And this moment the Imam called out, I have won by the Lord of the Kaaba. And this moment when he fell on the ground, Imam al-Hassan ran towards his father's body. He sat by his father's body, and next to him sat Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. When Imam al-Hussein sat, he took the head of his father. He saw the blood pouring from the head of his father. But the reply that came was a beautiful reply. The blood was all over the face of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, but Imam was thinking something else. He said, Abu Abdullah, is this you who holds my head? Imam al-Hussein replied, he said, Father, it's me, Hussein, who holds your head. He replied back to him by saying, I wonder who holds your head on the 10th of Muharram. When he lay there on the ground, one narration mentions something. It mentions that they lifted him. He began to walk, but he was limping, yes? Because the strike had affected him so badly that he couldn't walk properly. He left the mosque, he was limping. All of a sudden, he turned around to Imam al-Hassan. Imam al-Hassan looked at him, he said, Father, what's wrong? He said, my son Hassan, please let me stand straight. Hussein, hold me from the other side. So they both held him. When he was walking, he was standing straight. Imam al-Hassan said to him, Father, why do you want to stand straight? He said to him, I see Zainab on the front of the house. I don't want Zainab to be in shock when she sees her father like this. I say to him, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, if you didn't want Zainab to be in shock, then what would you have done when Zainab saw Shimar sitting on the chest of Imam al-Hussein? Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to raise us with Muhammad and Al Muhammad. Ya Allah, allow us to be amongst those who hold on to the Quran. Ya Allah, allow us to be amongst those who ponder over the Quran. Allow us to be amongst those who remain attached to the Quran. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to perform the ziyarah of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen in the holy land of Najaf. Provide us with the shafa'ah of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Ya Allah, raise us with the Imam on the day of judgment. Hasten the reappearance of our 12th Imam, Imam Sahib al-Asri wal-Zaman. Ya Allah, allow us to be amongst his companions and those who follow his message in this world and receive his shafa'ah in the hereafter. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the Surah al-Fatiha. But before it, the loudest of your salawat.